Okay, August 14th. I don't know, probably about 5:30 in the morning. I've been up since like 4:30, or maybe even sooner than that. Maybe. August 14th of 2025. So, here's what's happening today. I'm almost getting, I got the canner ready, take out the tallow from the fridge, so we're gonna, at some point in this video, it depends on how long I talk for. I mean, canning the tallow isn't gonna take that long, but I think it's important to show people that they can do it. I've got 8 jars that I've unfrosted that are in my fridge. They've been there. This is going on to the second and a half day, which is good. Got the canner out. It's a 30-minute water bath, and I'm just gonna pull out the jars and show you what to do, and we'll talk about it. And if you were to put it at $5 a jar, buying tallow in a grocery store, and that's assuming that you can find it, because as far as I know, you can't find them in Canada. I've never seen it. You get lard in those, little cartons, but that's not even real lard. I mean, it's lard, but it's not like the lard that we're going to be working with today, right? It's completely different. Anyway, and then I did go out to the back to the garbage can, and I tried to find that dish, but it disappeared. Isn't that interesting? As far as I could tell, I went right down into the garbage can. It was gone. So I think maybe when it was out on the ground, then I came downstairs, and I think maybe somebody was walking, and maybe they looked and they seen it. It was gone. And I think they even grabbed some noodles, to be honest with you, because a whole bunch of noodles were missing. Yeah. So somebody had walked up and down the alley and scooped up on that Korean dish, because it was nice, right? And grabbed themselves some noodles, some packs of noodles. Yeah. Because when I got out there, I only got one full pack with a few that was a bag ripped open, and there was more than that. So somebody's chowing down on those noodles. So I rescued those little containers of stock. But we already know that they should never have been stored in the original container long term. I discussed that in my last video, right? But we're going to open them up, and we're going to look at them anyway. And then yesterday, Andre did open up one of those noodles. He looked at the expiry date. It was February of 2021. And from a company's perspective, right, when they manufacture them, the long-term past the expiry date, long-term, they put it at 5 years. Shelf stable, okay, before the product starts to deteriorate through that oxidization process, okay? It's not meaning that at the 5-year mark, all of a sudden, it's no good. It just means that, it's been 5 years, and over a period of time, things do deteriorate. However, all depending on how you store them away from the elements. Sunlight, moisture, extreme heat, that kind of stuff. So the better you can store it, the longer it will last past 5 years. So I told Andre, I want to eat, and I said, well, wait, just wait. So by the time it was all said and done, washed everything, whatever, I said, okay, because he's bugging me, right? Even though we've got Mr. Noodle in the house, that's the one he wants. And I'm like, okay, but you have to open it up and then learn what signs to look for so that you don't eat it. Right? So he opens up the bag and he looks, and I said, okay, now look at the noodles. What do you see? He said, they look fine. They look brand new, as if he just recently bought them. No flaking, no deterioration, like, right? It's solid, and it looks like as if you just bought them within the last month. I said, okay. And after that, then I brought to his attention that if he opened up the package and you had little green hair growing, yellow hair, and spots all over the place, well, what does that tell you, Andre? Well, mold. I said, exactly. I said, would you eat mold? He says, no, of course not, because that can kill you. Certain kinds of molds can kill you. So anytime something's quote-unquote molding, right, then get rid of it, right? Cheese, if you have a block of cheese, right, for those that don't know this, the big blocks of cheese, right, and there's mold on the outside, you cut 1/4 inch past that mold into the cheese, cut, and then everything else on the inside you can eat, because the mold itself can't, and that's hard block cheese, okay? It has to be hard block, right? It can't travel through. As long as it can't travel through and penetrate deeper into the food, then it's fine. You can cut it off like cheese, right? But cottage cheese, no. If you see mold on top, don't think you can just scoop it up and throw it out, because the way cottage cheese is with a lot of air pockets, it will go down deeper into the product and you won't even notice it until you get to it. Right? So and then I asked him if it was like mushy. I said, well, what else? Right? Obviously it wasn't mushy. It didn't have no spots on it to suggest that there was mold growing. It had no little green hairs, no yellow hairs, nothing. It was in perfect shape. That's basically what it was. I said, okay, so what would be the other reason why you wouldn't eat it? If you opened up a package and you look, what would be the other reason? And he's thinking. And I'm like, come on, Andre. Anyway, it's pests, bugs, right? If it's infested with bugs, then obviously you don't want to eat it. You throw it out, right? However, if you were really, really, really hungry and you had no choice, because in 30 years from now, the world is just worse than Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And, you've got a whole bunch of people running around with hunger stones in their pocket as they're sucking on leather belts because they're facing a famine. And you open up an old pack of noodles as if you were, in a doomsday scenario, and you've seen a few bugs. I'm not saying a whole pack of bugs, but if you've seen just a few bugs, right, little, those flower beetles, right, things that like to eat that kind of stuff, right, or moths or something like that, right, then, you could just rinse it off and you could eat it, because at the end of the day, people are eating bugs all over the place, right, and even in your manufactured processed foods, in your cereals and all that crap, there's a percentage of bugs in the product, because of just, that's a fact of life. So just because you see bugs doesn't mean you can't eat it if you really needed to, because there was nothing else to eat. That's the worst case scenario, people. But as it is, we're not starving, so if you open it up and you see a few little beetles running around in it because they like to eat flour, like wheat, right? Then chuck it out. But keep it in the back of your mind. If you had to, eating a few bugs isn't going to kill you, especially if you can rinse them off. I'm just saying. Ooh, how dare you think like that? There will never be anything bad in the world, because we live on in Canada, on the west coast of all places, rural, where, you know, nothing, you know, people don't suffer like in other countries where everything's wiped out because of a natural disaster, or, you know, the economy, like Venezuela, crashes and people are starving and, you know, having a minimal of this and a minimal of that. And it's like, yeah. So anyway, and then he opened up the package. I said, okay, so now let's look at the seasoning. And it was in a little mylar, right? And I'll open and I'll show you when I do the tallow, and that will be the end of the video, right? Because to show you the tallow is nothing, to show you the noodles is nothing, and to show you those little beet broths is nothing. It's not going to take up any length of time to show you those things. So what's important is that people have the knowledge, if you want to call it knowledge, when really a lot of it's just common sense. Yeah. And maybe humbling yourself, right? You gotta humble yourself. Okay. If you're homeless and you're hungry and you're walking down the road in the alley and you see a pile of stuff right there on the ground and it's something red that looks like, I want to go see, because clearly nobody wants it. It's just right there on the ground by the garbage can. And you find a whole bunch of noodles in there, spicy ones at that, and a beautiful bowl to go with it. And it's a God moment for you because you're hungry and you really don't got much of anything, but you can probably, you know, eat those noodles just even with boiling hot water if you wanted to, like, because, you know, homeless people, they don't have kitchens to cook it, but they can get access to hot water from the homeless shelter. So, you know, right? You got the beautiful bowl, wash the bowl, put the noodles in there, sprinkle them, throw on some hot water, let it sit and soak, and before you know it, you have a meal. And for a homeless person, that could mean a lot, right? You know, like, that's what I mean by humbling yourself, right? Where, I don't know, so, okay, so, you know, we got people in my house that I don't understand. I don't think they understand what humility is. Isn't humility almost equal to being humble? Right? You know, right? You have to humble yourself. You have to show humility, right? Because you just never know. And I'd rather know in case of than not know. So, you know, I like to show Andre these things as they occur, which is another reason I get annoyed when they throw it out, because that's missed opportunity for Andre to gain that knowledge that could very well save his life. Mark Hain cannot predict the future, what it's going to be like in 25 years in this economy. He can't guarantee that he's going to be there helping Andre because of whatever, right? So why would you want to make it where Andre couldn't figure out what's good to eat and what's not good to eat? Just because... Anyway, that's not why I turned on the camera. So he opened up the package with the spice, and it was a beautiful color from what I could tell. I said, okay, well, what's the first thing you see, Andre? He goes, it looks real good, Nana. That's the first thing he said. It looks real good. It looks perfect. It's like, and it smells good. That's what he said. It smells good. I said, oh, so it smells good? Let me see. Okay, from what I can tell, yeah, it looks, you know, it has vibrant color to it. Maybe not as vibrant as it first went in, but, you know, spices in a jar or sealed nicely in a nice metal, they can sit for years and years and years, 25 years or more, people. Like, you know, it depends on how you store these things sometimes, right? It's not about, can it last that long? Of course it can. And if you don't open and close, once you put it in and you seal it, whether you vacuum seal or not, when it comes to spices, You can open it up 10 years later and it will smell as fresh as it was when you put it in there. Because right? It's when you're opening and closing, and you're introducing more oxygen. Okay, that, but other than that, so I said, oh, okay, so it looks good. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, from what I can tell, I don't see color as much as you, but from what I can see, it's looking pretty good. And he cooked them up and he ate them, and they were really spicy, and he liked them. So I will open up a pack, and I will show you. Yeah. And I'm going to show you how to can this tallow, because at $5 a jar, if you were to buy it in the grocery store on the low ball, I got 8 jars. That's 88, what is that? 8, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. That's $40. $40 in tallow, not including the jars, right? It'd probably be more than $5 because it's real beef fat, and it would be less than a pint, more than likely, just with the cost of everything. For me, it just costs me my time. So we'll do that. Now, in regards to whatever decisions I'm trying to make here, I'm coming to it's not I'm coming, I already know. I'm stuck in a very codependent situation here, as I would think a lot of people are in their lives, to one degree or another. We don't like to be codependent, but we are, right? And, that makes us vulnerable sometimes. So I think before I borrow $100, I think before I borrow another $1,000, wherever I get it from, I'm going to attempt to see if I can just go downstairs and work with Andre and bring Amari downstairs with me. And what Andre and I can't do, Marcane can finish it. Because I'm looking at that gaping hole in Tisha's room, and I did tell Marcane I need to get into that corner and take out that little. So maybe in his mind, trying to help his mom, maybe he's been lowering that pile to make it easy for me to get in there, because I told him that's where I want to start, is take out that one. Because I knew they were going to do what they did with the shelf. I just don't like the way they do the things, and I don't like the way they scatter it, and I don't like the way, that they locked me out and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, something needs to be done with it, right? So I'm looking at it in my mind, and I'm like, we can start with that, and Andre can help me with that, because it's almost ready to get in there and do what I need to do. And then once I get that out, then most of whatever, honestly, that's underneath the steps, that's where it will go. I've always planned to put it there, since the pressure was put on me to get it out of the so-called living room. Whatever. But that would require having to get permission from Marina. And I don't expect her to leave. I spoke to her yesterday briefly when I was out gathering that stuff that whoever threw out what, and I seen a garment bag that I thought was mine, because I have one of a similar color, right? So I grabbed it, I picked it up, and I'm looking at it, and I know I have one like this, right, somewhere, and of course I'm all paranoid and freaked out, so I'm knocking on the door. She comes to the door, and I said, Marina, I said, I think this is mine, right? Like, is this mine, Marina? She goes, no, that's mine. I said, yours? I said, yeah, but I've got one that is the same color and looks like this, and it was outside. Oh, well, no, that's mine. I bought it at Value Village, and the rats pissed on it and threw it out. And I'm like, okay, so this is yours, but are you sure you don't want it? Because it's easy enough to clean, and it's in good shape, right? No, I don't want it. I said, oh, well, then I guess I'll keep it, and I'll take it upstairs, and I'll wash it in the bathtub. And then I'll just let it hang dry. And she peeping behind the door, right? She's, anyway, okay. Andre was supposed to cook yesterday, but you know, we get so hot up here, and you know, obviously he's grounded. Oh, he did. At first he fought with me, tried to guilt trip me that I wasn't going to trust him. He felt it was my duty to trust him, because he has done nothing for me not to trust him. I just told him it wasn't going to work like that. And then I gave him an ultimatum. I don't know what it is now. I guess he thought about it. And then he ended up and he came and he gave it to me on his own. So that's good. But he's moody and he's flip-flopping. And he basically sat there, well, didn't sit, but he basically just lounged around watching TV all day. Because he, you know, he gets depressed when he can't play the computer. And he gets stubborn, and he rebels. So now I'm warning him that if he keeps it up with that, I'll take that away. I'm just going to give it a couple days for it to try and iron itself out. Right? Try not to badger him too much. Yeah. So at least he gave it back on his own. So that's good. So I'm just going to talk to Marina. I'm going to have him call her, and I'm going to say, listen, you know, I'm not in a position to go borrow a whole bunch of money to have strangers come in the house and basically help me do what I need to do downstairs. Really, I can't afford it. I mean, like, as much as I'd like to, maybe a little bit of something outside when it gets into the sheds and stuff, I could maybe swing a couple $100 here and there for somebody to help me. But when it comes to downstairs, like, I shouldn't have to be in that position where I have to hire a stranger to come in and help me move things. I shouldn't. Right? But the thing is, I can't do it by myself, so I'm just not strong enough anymore, and my hip is going out on me, right? Yeah, my right. I always had problems because that's the baby hip. You carry the babies on the right hip if you're right-handed. And, you know, just with everything, it's flaring up on me, and my back seized up on me, last week or something, but besides that point. So I'm just going to ask her if I can just come down with the kids, and, you know, Mari can sit in a stroller, and Andre can just help me move the things I need to move until I'm ready to have, you know, then go be with Amari, and then when I need more help moving or doing something, he can come, and right, and then we'll open up a space, and then I'll go in underneath the steps and move out some stuff. I got a little shelf. I bought a little shelf, a little metal shelf. I bought a little metal shelf that would be perfect to stack some jars, right? So I can do that, and then we can start moving the jars out of the laundry room, and Andre can grab a case, carry it, put it on the shelf. And then my son can just take those bins, take them out, I'll look in them. I'll decide what I want to do with whatever's in them, because I don't even know anymore, right? Well, I know what I have. You see, that's the thing. And that's what Tisha warned Rhea about. Like, if you stole from my mom, Rhea, oh boy, you can't get away with nothing with my mom because she knows what she has, and that's exactly what went down. That's what my video showed you. Okay, well, it's the same thing downstairs. I might not know each and every single thing, right? And but at the end of the day, I basically know what should be down there. And but anyway, I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative, right? So I'm just going to see if she'll cut some slack. I don't care if you're home or not. It doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't. The faster I can get it done and get out of there, the better off I would be, because then I've got more time to do other things. So it's not like I'm trying to hold anybody up here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to say, just to cut to the chase, I mean, I can't afford to borrow more money to pay strangers to come into the basement so that you guys can get all freaked out, right? And then accuse me of something going missing because I brought somebody to come and help me move fucking stupid shit that you guys were the one that scattered it around, not me. So hopefully she'll be copacetic with that. And it only needs 3 days. At best, maybe 4. And that's checking to see the food is okay in between the buckets and repackaging. I should have some things in boxes, and that's why I bought the buckets with the Mylar lids that are sitting up by my bathroom in my way. They need to go downstairs and be used. So this isn't a game. I spent like almost $500 for those freaking buckets, and they've been sitting by my bathroom door for like 3 weeks, for crying out loud. Because it's just such a hassle. And that's what I mean, you're codependent. It's not like you can just leave. Start fresh. And then everything gets put on hold. And you get that boobery going on. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm going to see if I can ease that in first. And of course, if it's too combative, too argumentative, too complicated, too difficult, too nerve-wracking, unproductive, then yeah, I'll have no choice but to go borrow that $1,000 and bring a stranger in the house to help me do the shit that I need to do. Being that they're freaking codependent on me. It's not just me being codependent on them. And if I have to, I'll call the fucking police and have the police come in there and let any, I don't care who it is. Your mother has a right to come down here and deal with her stuff because it is her house. What part of that didn't you learn when you were growing up? Why are you calling the police? Well, because I have to go down and sort out my food prep. And I'm being treated like a criminal. I can't do that. I have to book an appointment 4 weeks in advance and have all that energy on that date of my appointment, because if I'm too weak and I can't make it, then I'm the problem. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to try that first. And then I have a meeting today. I'd like to dress up a little bit with it. All my clothes are just in bags in the bedroom right now. I haven't had a chance to look at them. Gonna end up probably selling some, giving some away. But it would be nice to put on something that's different. You know what I'm saying? One of my hats when I work on a non-profit and whatever. I like hats. Yeah. Bring my pimp hat. Yeah. Or my pastor hat. It's on how you look at it. It could be a pimp hat or it could be a pastor hat. Like a pastor, like a preacher. Just one with flair. Yeah. I wonder what they would think. Nobody says anything over there about my ex hat. Mayor X hat or the G Kids hat. They don't say they're looking, but they don't say anything. The letter X intimidates people. I didn't know that. I thought it would inspire people and make them feel strong, but ultimately they feel intimidated by it. Because of the history around Malcolm X. Yeah. With misunderstanding. Because of propaganda and corrupt politics to control the narrative. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to record that or not. It's just to discuss moving forward as a group. And then booking another day for another meeting to further discuss and to get serious about membership drives and anything else that we do as fundraisers. Yeah. And I'm already tired. Yeah. So hopefully I won't be too tired by that time that comes. So we'll see. You know, pain really does get in the way of doing things. My hip is killing me. It's like those good old baby days. And carrying those babies and those toddlers on your hip for years and years and years. I turned this on because I'm going to say this twice. I'm going to try and remember to mention it again when I open up those noodles. Okay, because after this I'm forcing myself to get up and take the tallow out of the fridge and I'm going to put it on the counter, and then I'm going to turn on the camera. I'm going to walk you through it, okay? And then after, when the tallow's in the canner, then we'll open up the noodles. And one container of that spice, which I don't know, I have to look at it. And that's going to require its own video, I think, eventually, in terms of anything and everything that I can gather up around the house to show you visually what I'm talking about when it comes to storing spices and those types of things. Alright. Now, I'm trying to teach Andre, being that my son and his wife, and you could even say Tisha, are not interested in learning the ins and outs around food prepping for the sake of or purpose of having food security in your house. Okay. Food security is separate from housing security. We're not talking about housing security. We're just talking about basic food security. So I go out of my way, I spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars over a period of years to build in food security. As I'm doing it, I'm reading, watching videos, whatever, but a whole lot, okay, right? Data collecting, right? You know what I'm saying? Plus I have years and years of experience working with food. So, again, you do what you can within your budget. If all you have is vacuum seal bags, brown paper bags, and you can't afford mason jars, then so be it. Right? Some things you learn through trial and error, like we're going to learn, I think, with those bouillon, soup-based bouillon things that are packaged in cardboard. I think that's going to be a real eye-opener. Okay. So I'm trying to teach Andre about food security We have it, but it's been hard to get to downstairs. And then all of a sudden we're finding our stuff out, because it's his too, right? Out in the garbage can, which we could be using and should be using. And because it's something that he likes, he wants it back. And I don't blame him, because so do I, in light of what I know and how much it costed to buy it, yada yada. So we take it out of the garbage can. Like, he wanted to go get it. He was kind of badgering me after I told him what it was. All right, and I had him to go look for that bowl, and he wanted the noodles, and I'm like, And then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll do a little experiment. And it wasn't that I didn't want it. It was just the fact of the way it was treated, and I just didn't feel like I felt like I didn't deserve to be humiliated and put in a position of being a garbage picker, so that the person that was humiliating me could elevate their self-esteem at my expense. So, to hell with it. Just let it roll. But he was like, no, there's noodles in there. Yeah, I said, but I got it. Oh. And I'm like, yeah, and then there's that honey there too. And, I do want to see what's going on with those little broth things. And, okay, let's get it. Because if it's good, fine. If it's not, well, you're going to learn. You're going to learn. All right. Now, when there's kerfuffle going on in the house, see, this is where these videos get long, and then I have to start a new one, right? When there's kerfuffle in the house, a lot of displaced anger, whatever, how things build, right? And then the pressure canner releases steam, and people start to say things that they don't mean, and just whatever, right? You know how it goes, right? And like Marcaine, Andre, you're 14 years old, you need to go out and get it, at some point you're going to have to work, and blah, 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 because if you don't, you're going to be homeless. He has a point, but then also at the same time, what Marcaine seems to forget is he's 34 years old, I think. 34 or 35. And he hasn't even left home yet. I'm not the perfect mother, but I've insulated him. And if all he got out of me was cheap rent because of my dedication to hold down the fort and not walk away and be a real shit-ass mom and abandon it all, maybe he'd be singing a different tune right now. And I think, being that I've been there for him for all these years, making it where it's been affordable for him to be able to look after himself, I think he should give Andre that same privilege after I'm gone. Versus, well, if you don't work hard enough, you're going to be homeless. I ain't going to look after you. Yeah, well, for the amount of money that you make, Marcaine, it's not like you're helping me financially, so don't expect the same from Marcaine. Don't expect the same from Andre when he starts working. Right? Don't expect him to pay $1,500 a month for something that you've been paying maybe $700 a month for years and years and years and years and years and years, and then you brought in a woman, and all you ever did was give me another $300 and maybe $50 a month extra for the hydro that she uses with her sewing machines. Like, come on. I'm just saying. I'm not running a rooming house here. Right, from somebody that's on welfare with their $350 freaking welfare rent check. But that's basically what I got. So I'm not only supporting him financially by holding down the fort, right? He didn't go off and spend $180 on freaking hoses and, whatever, or just whatever. It's just, so the point is, okay, if you're telling Andre that if he doesn't smarten up, go out and work like a man, make money to support himself, he's going to be homeless. As you're throwing out food that's edible and not even yours to throw out into a garbage can, where he learns that all he has to do is go to a garbage can and he might be able to find food, being that his uncle seems to think he's going to be homeless anyway. I mean, who's teaching who what here? This is what I'm trying to say. Who is teaching what? Right? I'm not the one throwing out the food and then asking him to go get it so that we have something to eat. I'm not teaching him how to be a homeless person. But if he ever found himself in that situation, I'm sorry, boo-boo situation, if he ever found himself because his family turned their back on him, told him to pull himself up by his bootstraps and go find his own way because they can't be bothered nurturing him for whatever reason, you know, like a guardian angel, putting them under their wing, putting him under their wing, right? Because he's not living up to their expectations and making $4,000 a month, so therefore somehow he becomes unimportant, so kick him out. Because he's only making $2,000 a month. Well, what difference does it make if he makes $2,000 a month compared to $4,000 a month if his rent is only $400 or $500 for the freaking room for what it's worth? And we're not even factoring in Amari, okay? Because my son was paying $500 a month for years and had that whole basement to himself. Well, I paid for the whole freaking house. And that was his hydro and gas and water and everything else included. Yeah. $500 for a whole basement. Even though it had stuff in there, he still had his own space, his own privacy. Right? I never used the laundry room. Just saying. Private bathroom. What was the worst that I did? Come downstairs and bring food preps down. Yeah. Teaching Andre about food security and how you plan for the future so that you can protect your family in the event of something bad happening. A drop in income, anything, death in the family, you know, whatever. The economy crashing, everything going up real high. Those noodles that they threw out, they're like $7, $8 a pack. Yeah. They threw out $100 worth of food, and not including, and that fish went missing. That fish went missing. Because I went in the garbage can, I pulled everything out, I'm feeling around. Never felt it. Whoever was in the alley walked by, I'm telling you. They took like 3 packs of full, unopened packs of noodles, that frozen fish, that unthawed, which they probably fed to their animal. That's probably what they did with it. And the bowl, they took the bowl. Yeah. Because they're homeless. Only a homeless person would do that. But it was a godsend thing for them. Because you know they're chowing down on those noodles because those noodles were fine. Or they're, in my mind, and they're like teaching Andre to prepare to be homeless. Only they would reprimand him for going in the garbage and rescuing it. If they wait till they watch. Marcane listens to my videos. Maybe he doesn't watch them, but I'm pretty sure he listens to them. He spies on me. He does. He thinks he's being slick about it, but he's not. But, you know, wait till they find out that I went into the garbage can, pulled out that stuff, and we're eating the food, and it was expired, and you're making everybody sick, and like, fuck off. No, fuck off, man. No, you're the ones that are teaching Andre how to be homeless. I'm teaching Andre how to survive, just in case he does become homeless because of people like you. That's the way I feel about it with your messaging compared to my messaging. Is Andre perfect? No. But there are a whole lot of kids out there that are worse than Andre. You know, we're you know, Andre's, you know, he's just. Anyway, he didn't go downstairs and cook because he's disgusted with everything. Disgusted with the fact that I took the computer away from him. Disgusted with the fact that this flare-up with fucking stupid food and stuff and things being moved around, my shit being thrown out. Him wanting to, you know, he went and got the freaking noodles. I went and got another bag in there that was already opened up because, like I said, somebody else ran off with a whole bunch. As they're holding it, oh, well, Andre, if you don't start doing this and you don't start, you're going to be homeless, you're going to be homeless, you're going to be homeless, you're going to end up homeless. Well, what the hell does that say about you? I never fucking said that stupid shit to you, Marcane. You got to sleep, you got slack from me for years and years, and I've been in this house 14 years. The only time you started paying more was when Marina moved in, and that was what, $300 bucks. Whoop-de-doo. Welfare checks for rent are more than that. Not everything is always about money, but they put so much. So I'm not teaching Andre how to go into a garbage can and rescue food that wasteful people like to throw out, simply because it's the cool thing to do. No, I'm teaching him survival skills. And I'm teaching him what to look for if he ever ended up in that kind of a situation where he felt that he had no choice but to do that because everybody, including his family members, abandoned him in the community. And he would know what to look for before he ate it, if it came to that. Being that everybody's got him fucking pegged to end up being homeless unless he can jump through this hoop, this hoop, this hoop, right? You've got a whole lot of hoops in front of him based on what Marcane thinks the hoop should be, or what Marina thinks the hoop should be, or you could even add in Tisha in terms of, if you don't live up to our expectations, then you can go kick rocks and go be homeless. And if, what if he can't? He's just not capable. Or what if it takes a little longer, like it took Marcane to grow up, and even then Marcane hasn't grown up. You make $80,000 a year, give me $1,800 a month for rent and gas and hydro. Then we'll talk. Other than that, what you pay, and then throw at Andre that he's going to be homeless as you throw out food that you've been withholding from us for years because all of a sudden you're a guru when it comes to food prepping and you think you fucking know anything and everything, even though you haven't walked the talk. So, who's teaching what to Andre when they're throwing out perfectly good food and putting us in a position where we have to go and get it back, wash it, so that we can use what belongs to us? And not feel humiliated while we do it. Well, you take a negative and you turn it into a positive where it becomes a lifelong valuable lesson, so that if you ever find yourself in that position and you're walking down the alley and there just happens to be food there laying on the ground that nobody seems to want, and you're hungry and homeless, then don't be ashamed to take it for substance. Because if God didn't want you to have it, he wouldn't have shown it to you. And being that you had a Nana that actually took the time to teach you things, he'll know what's good and what's not good. If he has no choice, and that's all he's got to choose from, is what's in front of him. Because, again, his all high and mighty epitome of what is right family members abandon him on the streets because he couldn't measure up to their expectations. I had this discussion a year or 2 or 3 ago. Yeah. So when I show you those noodles, I'll remind you that they're setting him up to become homeless because they constantly trash his self-esteem. Anything to avoid the kitchen. I don't want to get up. My hip hurts. My left leg is going out on me. Okay, so now I'm thinking about that meeting. And I just want to, since I'm talking about homelessness and all this other crap, right? Food security, yada yada, right? You know, and I mean, it is a possibility that my grandson may end up in that situation because even I tell him, Andre, if you don't start stepping up to the plate and learning how to keep your environment clean, whether you're looking after Amari and me as an adult when you turn 19 and on and you'll get paid for it, if you can't keep a house clean, whether for yourself personally or just with the people that you live with, nobody's going to want to live with you except yourself. And that in a situation like that, it becomes a mental illness. And yeah, you'd be outside with a mattress on the ground with a bunch of garbage scattered around, and that's where you'd be. So, you know, but I approach homelessness with him, in my opinion, on a different level. And it's not because I'm trying to scare him to clean. I'm just trying to get him to think outside of the box. But, right. All right. So in the meantime, homelessness is on my mind. And I have this meeting today. Oh my God. I have really no glasses that work. And I'm just going to write down a few things that we're going to talk about, just to get people thinking, right, and talking and whatever, right? Because I know James is interested in program development. He's got a more than one plate in his lap. I can see that. I don't know what other people see, but I've been around people. Anyway, I can see that he's got more than one plate, one full plate in his lap. And there's actually a lot of people that depend on him for different reasons, whether it's emotional, physical, psychological, and yada yada. So, and I know he's interested in program development because that's why he knocked on my door. Why aren't you coming by? Why are you? Because you're missing me talking about the foundation? Why else would I come by? That's the only reason I ever came by. You weren't ready to accept a responsibility to, you know, fight the good fight, and I didn't want to put no pressure on you, and so I just got busy and didn't come by. And then when are you coming by? And when I called him on, I said, "What, are you ready now to be like a board director to the foundation and step up to the plate?" And he said, "Yes." Okay, well, here we are. When opportunity comes knocking, don't send it away. So I'm going to put down in terms of planting the seed today with whatever group that is going to be there, because I don't know. There's a few people know that I'm coming today. So boarding house. We need to discuss a boarding house. We need to get a general feel on for the numbers of people that go there over a period of a month. What would be the percentage? Approximate percentage, approximate average. of individuals who are facing homelessness or are homeless, because homeless people go there too. James says that in the wintertime, when it's really, really cold, he opens up the garage for them to go in there and warm up. It's kind of like a warming shelter. And if he has food, he feeds people. And he wants to expand on feeding people. That's program development. Okay? Approx. Yeah. I don't know. Can't spell. Don't worry about it. Approximate number of people facing homelessness or are homeless. We should get at least a general idea of what we're up against when it comes to building in safety nets. With a boarding house maybe being a solution. And the reason that I'm labeling it as a boarding house, because with a boarding house you tend to get a little bit more structure. In terms of, I would think, if you could get it running properly with the right support systems to sustain itself, you could build in food security a whole lot faster than you could if you just rented a house and then rented out rooms with roommates, because, you know, you can't really depend on roommates, because especially if they're below a certain income level, because lack of money creates problems. All right. We're not trying to establish a recovery house, because that operates different. However, a boarding house and a recovery house could almost be equal in the way it's being ran, only it has a different title, where I suppose mentally it might be more appropriate for some people to associate their living circumstances, which in most adults' minds wouldn't be ideal. Most people want their own apartment, you know, their one little bedroom apartment or whatever, and that would be ideal, right? Whereas if you're in a boarding house or in a recovery house, it's a shared environment with people with different personalities, with some of them with mental health issues. And even in a boarding house, because it's low income per se, right, you're going to have issues. But I'm not trying to open up a recovery house. But then I'm also not trying to throw away the idea and let it be somebody else's problem when it's knocking on my own door, and it could be my own grandson who could end up homeless because his own family members abandoned him because he did not live up to their expectations when it came to being a financially stable individual. And especially one that doesn't like to clean up after themselves. Okay, so as I'm thinking about this, the name, Freedom, I'm pretty sure that's what that dude's name is. Or maybe he runs recovery houses that are called Freedom Houses. I don't know. I just know there's some dude out here that's well seasoned when it comes to providing housing for vulnerable people, where it's pretty good, considering all things said. Freedom House. I think he runs a project called Freedom House, and that's why they call him Freedom. But I'm not exactly what his name is, but I'm going to drop his name today. See what comes up out of that. See if he hears it. Yeah. And maybe he'd like to expand on what he's doing in partnership with what we're doing. It could be something as simple as that to make it work for somebody else. Okay? So we're going to talk about establishing a boarding house. See if anybody would want that from that group over the next 3 months in our discussions through our membership drives. Right? If they're interested in participating in a boarding house, they should have the opportunity to put down their John Henry as, yes, I'm interested. And then after however long it takes to get 150 members signed on as paying signing members to the foundation, once we meet that threshold of 150, which I figure it will take 3 to 6 months to do it, because whatever, that gives ample time for enough people to go in and out of that place to get a gist of what's going on, to hear about program development, and to be, brought to the attention that this could be one possible thing that maybe we might be able to do. And if they're interested in being a part of that program because they're in need, then they should be able to put down their name. And if we've got 100 people, 100 names after 3 months of our membership drive, needing housing people, even if it's just a room in a boarding house, then that tells you something. Honest to God. And my fucking son and his stupid wife are throwing out fucking food while the homeless people are going up and down my alley taking it from the ground after I found it. And my grandson's running out there in the back saying, I want the noodles. I want the noodles. And I'm like, well, I want the honey. And I want to know what happened to those spices. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? This, like, Willy Wonka's freaking chocolate factory. How else can you like? It's such a warped reality, because my son. Oh, remember when you had that little house over there and it was turned into a crack shack? I said, well, how could I forget? Of course I remember, right? Well, that place is no different. I said, you don't know that. I don't think so. I've been over there enough times to know a crack shack when I see it. Does that mean that everybody perfect over there? Hell no. But no. You don't know what you're talking about. And like, I don't, and no, I don't think so, right? And I'm not saying that drug addicts don't go there any more than alcoholics go there, or freaking people who smoke cigarettes that go there, or maybe Bible thumpers go there too, right? That could be considered an addiction. Wait till the Bible thumpers show up. Like, come on. Well, you going to say they're just a bunch of religious freaks over there? Don't go over there, Mom, because you're not allowed to have no friends? Yeah, well, I got 100 friends probably sitting here right now at this moment that need housing, where maybe James and I and Freedom can hook up with DJ Riley, DJ Steve, or whoever, Manjeet next door. It only benefits him to help house people in the community. He knows it, because when he bought that house, and he's Punjabi with the turban, older man, right? A homeless person got into it because it was empty and started taking out his copper pipes. I go outside in a big kerfuffle, and they're running around chasing him with a freaking baseball bat. The guy jumped over the fence, ended up on my side, stood beside me as if I would protect him. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Well, he's stealing the pipes. Don't let him get away. As if I'm going to stop him in the dark, right? I mean, he ran off. And then he goes, well, why did you do that? And I said, well, what did you wanted me to jump him? The point was, maybe it was an intervention on my part so that you guys didn't kill him because you were so angry with him stealing your freaking copper pipes, right? because you just bought the house and it was empty, and they knew it was empty, so the homeless crawled in and started stealing the pipes, and you got your son running around out there chasing him with a freaking baseball bat. Maybe I saved you and your son and him just by showing up and saying, hey, stop, what the hell's going on? Because if they would have caught him and started beating him with the bat, they could have freaking killed him, and his son would have been in jail, and Manjeet would have been a lonely old man. Right? You know, shit happens for a reason. But, you know, maybe he'll step up to the plate and help. Anything is possible in a Willy Wonka chocolate factory. Anything is possible. Maybe that's why my life is the way it is. Because anything is possible. Right? And yeah, so I'm gonna put the shout out for freedom. And I'm gonna see. And if 100 people sign up after this membership drive, then yeah, that needs to be the focus of the year, among a few other things, when it comes to program development. So I'll just leave that like that. Being that my grandson is facing that dilemma. Yeah. Because I won't be there to protect him. Okay, I'm gonna just upload this as one video, and when I get to the tallow and the noodles, that will be the next video, because who knows what I'm going to talk about, if I talk about anything, because honestly I'm getting tired and I haven't even started my day yet. But I'm getting ready for the meeting. You can see that, right? Tisha, she looks at my writing and she says, gee, Mom, for a blind person, you write really nice. And I said, well, that's only because I can kind of see it. I use a thick, right? I mean, obviously there's going to come a day when I won't see, so no matter whether I can write or not, it's not going to make much of a difference. But in the meantime, I'm just jotting down a few things here so that when we have the meeting, we can discuss it, right? And I just might put this camera right up on my face when I do this video, and I'll post it as a public announcement. Just... right? And you see, that's what people don't like about me. I can be confident, and they don't like confidence in women. Yeah, and when men become confident, it becomes a pissing contest, right? Because, you know, it's a man thing, right? Gotta have the alpha males, eh? God forbid if there's an alpha female in the crowd, right? And even then, she's only good for breeding, right? Well, my breeding days are over. I had a fella ask me the other day when I was over there, making inquiries about hiring somebody to help me with that stuff downstairs. And he said, why are you so intelligent? It wasn't the word he used, but that's what, maybe he did throw in that word, in terms of I suppose, the gift of the gab, or just how I think and interpret things, and how I explain myself, or whatever, you know. Clearly he can see that I'm a thinker. Like, why do you think so much? Like, well, you know, what drives you to be the way you are? And I'm like, life experiences, I'm bona fide 100%, let's just put it that way. Alright, so my second subject at that meeting will be creating a little art center. And I can provide the basics for that to get it started. I can. But before I bring it, I will make sure I get permission, and people are wanting to have access to paper, some felt pens, different colors, and perhaps even a little desk that they can sit wherever they sit, put it in front of them, and they can doodle and design. And then those designs, whether they keep it for themselves, wrinkle it all up and throw it in the garbage, because it's kind of therapy too, right? Or they want to submit it for designs for hats and t-shirts and mugs and I kind of know what I want, so I'd give them directions in terms of, if you want to make a design for a hat, this is what I'm looking for. And if you just happen to sit there and you are an artist and you have skills and you just want to go with the flow and leave it with James, and we can discuss it at some point as to how we can start marketing hats and hoodies, and we would feature that design if, you know, it's nice, right? As a revenue, fundraising revenue to establish housing and food security, mental health services, even if it's in the form of an art program. So what is the purpose of the art program with the art center? Fundraising initiative. I don't even know if I'm spelling this right, but anyway, initiative for hat, hoodie sales by submitting designs. Okay. The other one would be for mental health therapy. I just put therapy. Oh God. People be like, you don't know how to spell. I'll be like, you don't need to tell me that. When I started working on the foundation, where's that book? Come on, baby. Where are you? Here it is. But I can't see anymore. Fine print like that, unless I've got something really strong with bright light on it. Maybe even a magnifying glass these days. Therapy. Therapy, relaxation. It should be relaxation therapy. I'll put it in brackets. Relaxation. Mental health. And what would be another reason you'd want to introduce a little art program? And creative opportunity for the ones that are artsy. Because we don't value that. And we need to. Because it taps into that inner child. All right. What else am I going to talk about there? Well, obviously membership drive. I'd like to do a fashion show. I would, but I'm not ready for that. I want to put fashion show. Just put it out there, right? Because I would need some models. Fashion show. Fashion shows. I'll just put fashion shows. Maybe somebody else would like to do a fashion show as well, right? And we could do ticket sales for that. $2 a ticket. You know, it's not about the money all the time as it is about the principle. Ticket sales. I'll put $2 to $5 per ticket. I'm just using that as an example. And that would be fun. We could do mini auctions. Mini auctions. Random items. I'll just put random items. And that could be a one-day event. Just to do something different, you know, get people, you know, involved. And that would be based on percentage. By donation to foundation. In other words, if $1,000 was sold on that day, based on however it gets set up, $100 donation by percentage per sale could go to the foundation. But that's just, these are just ideas. Right? I'm not saying it will happen, but it could happen. You can't set up a paying restaurant because, you know what I mean. You can't charge people to eat food per se, because then it becomes a restaurant. So, and I'm not even trying to go with that one. I don't mind maybe making a donation with some food that maybe I don't want or whatever, because I don't know until I get downstairs and do what I do. But it would just be like, you know, just for the sake of whatever, right? They have their barbecues, and it is what it is. Or it's not, I don't, it gets too complicated when you're trying to do that other kind of stuff. So I have to just bring this with me. Whether I record it or not remains to be seen yet. I suppose it depends on how I feel, because, you know, I have to get that persona going, you know. All right, people, this is the way it's going to be, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what we need before we start, and if can you know, blah, 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 blah. And then you get people just, and I've been there enough times in the last few little while to know who's going to open their mouth first and try and take control of the conversation and redirect it someplace else when we should be focused on what we're talking about. I have to put boundaries. Anyway, be back.